The Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, the PlayStation VR. All these technologies have delivered compelling virtual reality experiences via their VR goggles, but a new wave of devices are coming soon that may bring breakthrough to the mass markets. Today we'll discuss these technologies and share why you might soon be dropping some bucks on a VR headset. The Dissenter plugin allows you to boldly comment in places where you couldn't comment before, and perhaps just in time as the Silicon Valley social powerhouses are banning speech that they don't like. A little bit of controversy, a splash of virtual reality, and a smattering of other tech news, gadgets, and apps we think you'll find interesting. We're ready to go, so take it away, Fiona.
Ready for your hot fix of tech news with the latest apps, sexy software, and groovy gadgets? You've got it with the bad boys of tech. Take it away, gentlemen.
And welcome to the Bad Boys of Tech, the podcast for tech nerds, geeks, dweebs, dorks, and all those who love tech. Heard in a couple countries around the world with a few reviews now. And I'm Joel Comm, and that's Travis Wright.
Yes, hello. We are lovers of tech, and if you're listening to this show, then you must at least like technology. We like the cool things of technology. We don't like the authoritarian dystopian things of technology. We like the cool thing. So this is the bad boys of cool technology.
Yeah, or at least what we think is cool. I mean,
That's true.
There's some things that are cool, some things
Middle-aged white dudes think this stuff is cool.
So what does that tell you? Tell you all you need to know. So what say we jump right in? Mr. Travis Wright, I just got back from Orlando, Florida, and of course you know where I was.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you have like this nice glowing tan.
I did spend a little time in the sun, but I was in at the Mouse House at Walt Disney World for 3 days with our producer, Aaron, and we had a great time. It was purely business, so in case, the IRS wants to know if I wrote it off, I did not. I paid for it out of my personal with my own personal credit card. So
you know what? You got to have a break every now and again, Mr. Joel Comm. You work hard.
It was fun. And I've been a Disney World freak forever. I've probably been to the parks in Florida, never having lived in Orlando, I want to say 15 or so times. And then California, probably 5 or 6 times. And this is not new news about this ride that they've got there, but it's new to me because since I was last at Disney's Animal Kingdom, they opened up Pandora, which is the world based on the top selling film of all time, Avatar.
So that's over at MGM Studios, huh?
No, it's not MGM anymore. It's just called it's Disney. Well, first of all, that's different. That's Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's no longer MGM, but this is Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's the 4th park that they opened. And so the Pandora area is there, but they have a ride that is the coolest thing that a Disney park has ever done, at least in the United States. There might be some cool stuff in, China or Japan, some of the other Disneylands, but this ride there is called the Avatar Flight of Passage. And you've probably been on the Soarin' ride, right? The one
Soar. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So this right here, I'm looking at an online we put this in the show notes, so Avatar Flight of Passage. Now you have these, what kind of goggles are you wearing? It looks like they're like some sort of AR goggle or something.
They're really not AR goggles. They're just plain glasses, and the reason they're there is because let me explain this part first. So instead of like sitting in a chair, you're on this it's like almost like a cycle without wheels. So you're straddling your seat, and then you lean forward, and your legs and your back are then secured in this thing because you're supposed to be on top of a banshee, right? The banshees are the things that the Na'vi hunters fly on, and they bond with these banshees.
Right. Did you bond, Mr. Joel Comm?
I bonded in ways, it was amazing. But basically, you're on this, what looks like a cycle that you're straddled, and the glasses are really just to protect your eyes from the wind that's blowing at you and occasionally a splash of water, because the screen This huge screen opens up right in front of you, and it is the most breathtaking experience that I've ever had on a Disney ride. You really get the sensation that you're on top of this creature and it's flying, because the seat is moving up and down and left and right as you're whooshing through the environments of Pandora. It was so cool. Had to do it twice.
Nice. How long was the wait for that?
So, funny story. I'm glad you asked. The wait times were anywhere from 120 to 210 minutes. But, I've got a way. And
you're like, I'm Joel Comm. I've written 15 books. I'm an influencer. And,
no, it didn't take that at all. What it took was me walking up to one of the cast members that was near the ride and saying, is the wait really that long? She's like, yeah, I'm afraid so. I'm like, well, when's the best time to come? She's like, try closer to closing. And I said, we've got a fast pass for this other ride, so we can't wait over here right now. Is there any kind of magic that, could be done? And she said no, but as she did, she looked away, which told me, there's something that could be done here. Don't ask, don't get. So I thought, what, I'm just going to continue the conversation. She was a nice young lady. She was very helpful. We talked about the ride. And then 60 seconds later, she turns to me and she says, do you want to get on now? I'm like, yes, please. And
nice.
She said, well, I can't guarantee anything. She walked over to the gal, taking the fast passes there at the front. And she came back 30 seconds later. She said, come on. And we got right on the ride. It was amazing. And then the second time we got on, we ended up getting a fast pass that somebody had canceled, and we waited 10 minutes to get on. So
beautiful.
We blew by everybody.
Moral of the story is go to Disney with Mr. Joe Comm. He's got the schmooze down.
The moral of the story is, even if you have to wait 2 hours or more, if you're at Disney, wait and go on this ride, because it is, and it's not even virtual reality, even though we're going to talk about VR and AR a little bit on the show. It is just an up close and personal.
It is an augmented reality, because it's the screen that's doing it, right? It's not the glasses that are doing it. It's the same thing. So I went to Shanghai Disney when I went to an event with Huawei. It was the final day of the event, and we had been there for 4 days already. And then Robert Scoble and I decided to go to Disney and check it out, because it had just opened. And we went on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and it was the most amazing thing, because it was a mixed reality experience. So if you've gone to the one in Disneyland and you've seen that one, that's the old school 1950s, 1960s one. The one in Walt Disney World is not much newer than that. It's still pretty old school. But the one there is like, if you could reimagine the Pirates of the Caribbean with 2020 technology. And so you got these glasses on, and when you're cruising through, there is just amazing stuff that happens. You go into this one big cavern, and cannonballs are shooting over you, and you see them flying over you, and you see the big splash. And then all of a sudden we're submerged underwater, and then somebody does a spell or something, and then all these boats sort of flow up. And then so all around us, which is probably, I don't even know how huge the screen is, but it was about 5 stories tall and as wide as the eyes can see. And, then they did that spell, and then all these ships started coming up from the water, and, and then you literally, the adrenaline is flowing through you, because it looks so real in front of you, and the boats pop up, and then all of a sudden the cannonballs are flying, you see them flying and splashing, and all this stuff's going on. And it was just unbelievable.
The Imagineers are absolutely amazing. The stuff they pull off is incredible. And while I was at the Disney Hollywood Studios, you could also see where they are working on the latest zone in the theme park, which is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And if you think, 3-hour waits to get on the Avatar ride is long, wait till they open up this Star Wars land inside the Hollywood Studios. It's got allegedly a life-size Millennium Falcon is going to be in there. And you can kind of see from the other zones, some of what's going on in there. It's allegedly 16 acres, the biggest zone that they've ever created. And it's supposed to immerse you into the Star Wars universe, unlike any other thing they've done.
Well, I can tell you this. Last time I was in Disney, Walt Disney World was in 2014, and it was literally the day before they were opening up Hogwarts. that whole area there.
That's
I
Universal.
guess that was in Universal. Yeah, I was over at Universal, but it was in Orlando. And it was the day before that. And so I've not actually got a chance to go there, but, my kids have had a chance to go there and see it. And they said that, oh my God, it was just freaking amazing. Well, now this, Star Wars land is going to be way larger than that. And, it's unbelievable. Like how much land does Walt Disney World have down there? I mean, are they just taking over swamps or what?
Well, that's what they did. That's what they did in the beginning. So the whole, when Walt built Disneyland, he realized he made a mistake by not getting enough land. And if you go to Anaheim now, you'll see that, all around Disneyland, it's just built up and it's kind of slum-like, it's just not, it's not a pretty place. So when he figured out he wanted to build another park, he looked at Florida, and Orlando was a big nothing. It was a huge swamp. So he just bought acres and acres and acres. And so there's so much land for them to keep building on there. And, it's a no-fly zone. No planes can fly over the land that the Walt Disney World Corporation there owns.
That's some serious power.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, look at what they've done for the economy there in Orlando.
I tell you what, I'm excited about that Star Wars world. It looks really cool. There's an article on TechCrunch that's in the show notes that will show you all about how Disney is building Star Wars in real life. When is that going to be open? Do you know?
They have not given a date yet. They've said 2019, but you could tell that it's still under construction from what you can see, looking over the walls and from where you have a glimpse. And so it's not ready yet. I don't know, maybe fall, maybe winter. We'll see. But they said 2019.
That was one of those things I said. Well, for one, the fanboy part of me was really sort of distraught when Lucasfilm sold it to Star Wars, and I was like, oh, they're going to ruin it.
You mean to Disney?
Yeah, to Disney. And I go, oh, but it's going to be awesome when they build a Star Wars land somewhere in Walt Disney World, because you knew that's like, I mean, you're spending $4 billion for the Star Wars universe, and you have the coolest, park. And I think before Star Wars was partnered up, and they had stuff going on over at Universal. Like there were some Universal rides and stuff I remember back in the day, but now those are no longer because now Disney holds the rights, I guess. And so Star Wars, rock and roll, that's going to be fun. We should go check that out when that opens up.
I don't know that Universal ever had a Star Wars ride. I know that Disney has had Star Tours at both
Star
Disneyland.
Tours, that's what it was. Star Tours,
that was Disneyland, and that was
Disney,
also at the studios. But yeah, it's going to be amazing, and it's good because people still love Star Wars, even though all the movies they've made since the original trilogy have pretty much been crap, especially the second trilogy. So George Lucas ruined his own property long before Disney got a hold of it. And in fact, the last ones, there was so much political correctness in them and social justice warrior stuff that
we can't even mention it anymore. We're getting banned from social media to talk about it.
Well, they're not making any extracurricular Star Wars films after Solo way underperformed. And I started watching it. I couldn't it was a half hour in. I'm like, I'm bored watching a Star Wars movie. And so, they kind of screwed it.
It was the first Star Wars movie that did not have midi-chloridians.
Did it
or
not?
the Force being used. Yeah, there was no Force being used in Solo at all.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And they're supposed to have some badass Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, right? They didn't. Now they've canned that one.
Yeah, they've shelved it for the time being because.
So this is the Bad Boys of Disney podcast.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to be the Bad Boys of Tesla. What's happening there? They're not. They're getting rid of the stores.
They are getting rid of every single store, most of their stores, and they're going to sell their cars only online. And so the very first time that I ever saw a Tesla was in Silicon Valley, and I was staying at a hotel, and right across the street was a Tesla dealership. This was probably 8 years ago or so. And then I walked over, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is freaking awesome, right? And got to check it out and chatted with them and sat in. I didn't get a test drive it because I had some places to go. But they're going to close all of those, and only e-commerce. They're basically going to be selling all their stuff via e-commerce because they need to cut some expenses, right? I mean, Elon Musk has been trying to raise money for Tesla. There's, and they're finally now selling or delivering the long promised Model 3 that was the biggest crowdfunding effort in history, right? Remember all the people who were paying $1,000 down or whatever to get that, get the Model 3? Well, now that's starting to roll out and interesting news there. It's like you can be a big behemoth and then you got to close your stores, and then you get. So how does the delivery thing work? You like I order it online, and then like some truck just brings it to my street. That's kind of costly.
I guess they bring it to you or you pick it up at a local center. But what's interesting is, when you buy a car, the moment you drive it off the lot, it's yours. You can't bring it back. But with this, you'll have up to a week to return your car. I'm assuming for, a full refund, but they have these Tesla service mobiles that are out there in the field. They're Tesla branded repair vans, and you summon them from the Tesla mobile app. And so that's how you get repair on these things for quickies. I don't know what you do if, you need something more significant done.
Have you ever seen that Carvana?
What does that do?
You know what I'm talking about? Carvana. And it's like a vending machine for cars. And they have like this big tower of cars in there. And then you like pick which one you want to view.
Carvana.com.
Yeah. And what it does is will lower the car out of the vending machine. They have a new one that just launched in Indianapolis, and it's a really interesting structure. And they have all their cars in this like tower type of elevator thing. And then you say, I want the 2018 whatever, and they'll pick it out and connect it and then lower it down. And
yeah, I'm looking at Carvana.com right now, and they have a 7-day test own as well. We give you 7 days to see if your car truly fits in your life. If it doesn't, simply return it. It says, don't test drive a car, test own it. That's pretty cool because car buying shouldn't suck. And nobody likes going to a car dealer. Sorry to all of you who are ethical car salesmen, but sorry, what a sucky business to be in.
Well, that's what they say. Used car salesmen and attorneys, like they're not the most ethical folks, generally speaking. And, buying a car at this point with the internet the way it is and the research the way that it is and all the information that we can have about a car prior to, it's like in some cases you can be more informed than the salesperson is about a car. And, a lot of that is you're sold on it already. Like, look, I know I want to buy this kind of car. You're just going into the dealership to do the final step. And this right here, these types of tools eliminate that. So I think that's interesting.
They actually have this deal on here where you can say, price out my car, and they'll come and get it, and offer you a price. So I've got a 2015 Ford Mustang EcoBoost, and I have 9,500 miles on it. And I've wondered, what could 4 years? I've had the car over 4 years, and I wonder, what could this thing be worth? Do I really need a car? It makes me wonder. So I'm actually pricing it out right now.
You're like, how many Ubers could it be? Like, I mean, you mostly Uber everywhere at this point now, and so why not? Why have a car? But you know what? Your car is pretty badass. I mean, you did get a pretty decent one, and we had a good road trip there up to Aspen last year. That was pretty fun. So.
It is a fun car.
You don't have to get rid of it. You don't have to get rid of it, Mr. Joe Com.
There's another thing, as long as we're detouring, when I was at the Denver Travel and Adventure Show, I think it was it was last weekend here in Denver. I discovered a vendor, and apparently they've been around for a little while, and I'm just now discovering the service, but it's called Get Around. You heard of this one? So it's like Uber for cars.
I have.
So I'm thinking, wait, you're telling me I could rent my car out, and they have $1 million insurance policy on everybody's vehicle. So if something happens to it while somebody else is driving, they cover. So I'm going to actually explore that as well to see, all right, what can the car that I'm not driving earn while I'm not driving it, and is it worth it? Get Around is the app.
Yep. And I remember there's I think Jessica Scorpio was part of that. Like she was one of the founding forces. Oh no, she was actually a founder of it and the director of marketing. So we've actually had some great conversations with Jessica Scorpio, really smart lady. I think we chatted with her on Bad Crypto.
Wasn't it Ashley Scorpio?
Ashley Scorpio. Yeah, there's so many Scorpios out there. You know what? No, we chatted with Jessica on Venture Beats podcast. I know I've chatted with her before.
So many pretty interesting
Scorpios. Pretty interesting, peer-to-peer car sharing company. I guarantee you though, Mr. Joe Com, if you're out there renting your car, it's going to have way more than 10,000 miles on it soon.
That is true. So that's something to consider. Anyway, I wouldn't mind having a Tesla, but I don't know that I drive enough to do that. So here's a story that you picked up on. I think this fascinated you on TechCrunch regarding flaws in 4G and 5G. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So what's happened is a group of academics have found security flaws in 4G and 5G, and they say that they're being used to intercept phone calls and track the locations of cell phone users, right? And so they say this is the first time that vulnerabilities have affected both 4G and the new 5G. And basically any person with a little knowledge of cellular paging protocols can carry out the attack, it said. So not all that secure. And 5G to me, on one side of my brain, I go, oh my God. I mean, we're literally going to get 20 to 30 gigabit per second connections, right? That's insane. That's like being able to download a movie, 5 movies in a second or something, right? It's ridiculous speeds. But then the other side of it is if you do the research on those 5G towers and the amount of radiation that those 5G towers emit, it's like, you don't want those by your house. You don't want 5G anywhere near your head, so it's just really interesting. And I don't know that they've done enough testing on 5G to say how safe it is. A lot of the research that I've done on it is like red flag alarms about how dangerous 5G, even 4G, like when they put those towers on the top of apartment buildings and stuff, a lot of times what's happened is people who live directly underneath that, the cancer that ends up being found in their bodies, that's just too much radiation for folks. So I would almost say there's got to be some sort of like Faraday cage or something that we need to have at our houses or something if these 5G, towers get put all over the place, because that's going to be a whole lot. That's our body. I don't know if our bodies were meant to have that much information flowing through us at all times. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of waves of information that our bodies have not been evolved to deal with.
Amber waves of information.
Yeah, it's crazy. So something to go down. It's a rabbit hole for you to go down, check it out. There's an article on TechCrunch talks about it, but there's some vulnerabilities in it. Not only that, there's some potential health risks that I don't think that have been fully, researched and tested. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And the thing is that with these towers, communities don't have any say over it. With the way that it's set up is the phone carriers can put them anywhere they decide they want to put them. And the communities have no rights to say here or there if they want them there or not. Like they could put one right by my house and I couldn't do anything except move.
Wow. How about that? And this actually triggered another story. You triggered me, Travis, that I encountered. Are you familiar with what do they call it? In the locations on the iPhone, for crying out loud, Joel, where's the significant locations feature? Are you familiar with that? Okay, I'm going to show you something that is going to blow your mind. Get your iPhone out, and you guys at home follow along. Go to your settings. Okay, then go to privacy. Once you're in privacy, go to location services. Odds are you have it on. Once you're in location services, scroll down to the very bottom where it says system services, and then scroll down till you see significant locations. It's just above product improvement. And do you have it on? Okay, there's everywhere you have been by date.
Huh. Wow. Vienna, Kiev, Overland Park, Kansas.
But tap one. It'll show you on the map specifically where you are.
Denver, Colorado, where I was. Oh, I was at the airport. I was at Mr. Joel Combs' house. I was on Broadway.
Now, they say in here that this is to provide useful related information for maps, calendar, photos, and more. And then it says significant locations are encrypted and cannot be read by Apple. But here's the deal. Now I'm starting to understand why police are asking for phones. Where were you on the, night of? Boom, open the phone. If you've got this on, you can be pegged to a place specifically. It's easy to turn off, but I think it's fascinating.
Well, you can turn it off. I just turned it off and I turned it back on, and your history is still there.
Clear the history.
So you really need to delete the history and then turn it off.
You can clear the history as well.
Wow.
But that's pretty scary stuff right there. And it's not anything new. I just didn't realize how deep this privacy invasion goes on our mobile devices.
I've been to a lot of places, Mr. Jocom. I'm just scrolling down and going, damn. since I got this phone, I've been all over the place. I need to look at my other phones. Like, where's Travis been? Where on the earth is Travis San Diego? All right. Hey, there's another interesting article that we got coming up here. There's a couple things that's going on around Facebook, which is interesting. And I actually had a conversation with a good friend of mine, Ike Stranathan, who's in the Philippines, and he has his own, outsourcing business. And one of his competitors had picked up a Facebook contract, and what they did they hired like 2,000 people. And their job all day long was to look at the horrible shit that people post on Facebook, like the nudity, the violence, the hate stuff, all the different things. And basically their job is just to look, and people don't last, it says that original story that I read, that people don't last normally longer than 90 days because it's so traumatic. And here's an article here on The Verge that talks about that. It's like, it's the things that people are seeing. They spend, about 4 weeks in training, removing disturbing posts, hate speech, violent attacks, graphic pornography. And then they become a full-time content moderator because, AI can't handle this stuff yet. And then like people turning on live videos with somebody stabbing people dozens of times and just crazy pedophilia stuff and murders and stuff that is popping up on that. And yeah, people don't last very long at that job. There's currently about 15,000 content reviewers right now working on behalf of Facebook through different, third-party providers like Cognizant. It has an office in Phoenix. There's some in the Philippines, and there's some other places that they're doing it. So there's actual manual people that are sitting there all day long, and their job is to look at the worst of humanity.
What's really interesting about this to me is that it says the average or the median Facebook employee earns $240,000 annually in salary, bonuses, and stock. But a content moderator working for Cognizant in Arizona will earn about $28,800 per year. So this is a long article. It's a really interesting piece, and there is a Verge cast where this guy Casey Newton talks about all this, and just go and read it. And I think this is a good bridge into some of the other Facebook news that we're looking at here, Mr. Travis, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also in the news this week is Facebook is launching a Patreon-like fan subscription feature that allows people to pay a monthly fee to access, content creators' exclusive content. Now, the headline on TechCrunch is, Facebook wants up to 30% of fan subscriptions versus Patreon's 5%. So basically Facebook is saying, hey, Patreon has a good business model. We'd like to have that same business model too. However, we're going to increase your 5% to 30%. And YouTube, I think YouTube has 30%, and then Twitch 50%, which crazy. Those are some big fees for people who aren't even creating the content. They're just the medium for people to connect with the content. And they're taking a big percentage of that creator's money.
Those are huge fees. And there's better ways, right? I mean, that just seems like, especially from a platform that does not seem to be truly in favor of free speech. And, a lot of people don't like it when we get political, but I don't see this so much as politics as just reporting the news. This is what's actually happening. And what's happening is both Twitter and Facebook are banning people that are on the conservative side. Some headlines say far right, but whatever they are, they have conservative political opinions, and they're banning them for what they say is hate speech. It just happened to Tommy Robinson on Facebook and Instagram this last week, and another guy named Jacob Wall, who this article on CNET says is an internet hoaxer and conservative conspiracy theorist. The moment I see those titles lumped in, now I know they're putting labels on somebody specifically because they're trying to position the article so that the readers will think a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is always interesting. It's always like they say, oh, people on the left versus far right. It's like it's never somebody's on the right. They're always far right.
You can't just
ever notice that? It's like never like
you have to.
You can't be. Yeah, it is wild. And I was laughing about this. I saw this funny meme the other day, and it said, all conservatives are conspiracy theorists, and then on the other side it said, oh, Russia did this, Russia. And it's like, yeah, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there, and research them and then get proof. And then guess what? They're no longer conspiracy. They're either false or they're real. And the theory behind it is, that's one thing that YouTube's starting to ban is people discussing theories around certain things and is this true? Is this not true? And when we're in this post-truth era, right, where we don't really know what's real or what's not real, I research everything. And I've taken these political compass things and I lean to the left, right? I match up near Gandhi, but I see the bullshit that happens every day to people who are on the other side. And I don't like that because first of all, I'm like, hey, free speech, we're in America and you have a right to say and speak your mind. And so whenever I see these things happening where they're not fair, where 21-1 conservatives are being banned on Twitter over people who are on the left, that's blatant bias. And that gets to the point where, they are shutting down people's ability to share their thoughts. And regardless if you like their opinion or not, and a lot of times I don't, but they still have the right to share their opinion. And it's wrong when these big tech conglomerates, these oligarchies and technopolies are determining what we can and cannot hear or read or, content that we can consume. We can't do this anymore because these tech giants say no.
There's a couple great quotes around that. Isaac Asimov, the author of I, Robot and so many other books, said any book worth banning is a book worth reading. And that, of course, goes along with free speech. And then George Orwell, who wrote 1984, knows a little bit about censorship. He said, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Doesn't mean you have to listen. Censorship is cowardice, essentially. Censorship says that our argument can't stand up against yours, so we can't let you say it.
And it's really cowardice because when you cut the tongue out of someone and allow them to no longer speak, it's because you're afraid of what they have to say, not because of what they're saying. You don't want them to talk because you don't want people to hear what they're thinking and talking about. That's why you cut the tongue out of someone. So whenever somebody, gets silenced, it makes me want to go, well, what were they talking about? What were their points that they're raising? Because those points are triggering some people.
I don't like it. You hurt my feelings. That's hate speech. See, I don't believe that there is such a thing as hate speech. I think there's just speech. There are stupid things people say. You can say hateful things with your words, but it's, in the old day, if you were hateful in your words, we used to just call that being a jerk, right? But no.
Yeah. But now in certain countries, you say things that are deemed hate speech, and you're going to prison over people who are actually doing vicious crimes. It's crazy. There's a bias going on that's just wild to me, and I hope that it ends. And our next piece of news, I think, is pretty interesting. Is so there's a Twitter alternative out there called Gab, GAB.AI, and they aren't allowed to have an app on the App Store on Apple because they're a big tech company and tech companies don't want these alternative sites. And then, they always say, oh, well, we banned on Twitter. Well, Twitter's a private company, so just create your own platform then. Well, then Gab created their own platform. Well, guess what? Well, then PayPal and Stripe no longer allowed them to accept, payments, right? They shut down their ability to do business. That's collusion. That's real life collusion against these people and their ability to grow their business. Well, what Gab did this week was they launched this platform called Dissenter. Dissenter. You can go there, dissenter.com. And this platform allows you to add comments on any page on the internet. It's this little plugin that goes on any of the browsers that you use. And you go to any page online and you just hit the little green G, and then you connect it to your Gab account. And then you're allowed to, you can literally comment like on USA Today or New York Times or CNN, where they no longer have
right. They don't want people to discuss the stories. They have closed off. You could always tell which news sites are most fearful, right? That want their narrative pushed because they've turned off comments. You could always see what YouTuber doesn't want their narrative challenged because they shut off comments. So this plugin by Gab acts as an overlay so that any site you go to, if you're logged into Dissenter with that plugin, you'll see the discussion that people are having. Now, here's the only problem I see with this, and it's a problem because the those that are censoring have created this problem. First of all, Gab does attract people on the right and the far right. In fact, I would go so far as to say there are some extremists on the site, right? But that's because they have nowhere else to go, right? If it was the other way around, if the social sites were banning people who had a leftist political position, then a site like Gab would spring up for leftists, and you would see everything from middle left to the far left show up on there. So there's that's the only downside, is that, you've got to be ready that when you go there, you're going to see and read some things that you don't like, but that's okay, because we're adults and we can have conversation without others telling us what we can and can't talk about. And that's why I think Dissenter really has a chance to gain traction, because now we can talk about whatever we want on whatever site we're on, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most useful add-on since maybe AdBlock. And, I'm looking at, I'll go to different pages whenever I'm reading an article. I'll just open it up and see. And there are some troll comments there, because that's the nature of the internet, right? There's a very few insightful ones as well out there. And I think it's most valuable on sites like CNN and USA Today and Washington Post and all those ones that don't allow comments anymore. So if they don't allow comments, pop open Gab and then leave a comment. I don't care if you're on the right or on the left or in the middle, if you're green, if you're blue, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Just, share your opinion, because it's not illegal yet.
Point, the next story we're going to cover is on the New York Times. The headline is Facebook and Telegram are hoping to succeed where Bitcoin failed. And when I look on this article, there's nowhere to leave comments. So I popped open Dissenter, and there's 8 comments on this article from people. So a discussion is taking place. So suck it, New York Times. We're going to talk about you, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
And
very insightful comments on here too. These are not little trolling comments, like a couple, 2, 3 paragraphs from some of these people, right? That's very insightful stuff. There's not a troll, screw you, New York Times, eat a bag of donuts.
I want a bag of donuts.
But all this this article really is just another Bitcoin has dead. There's like over 300 times. There's this article on 99 Bitcoins. If you Google Bitcoin obituaries, you'll see that Bitcoin has died over 300 times since 2009, and it's still not dead. But and if you do like crypto, make sure to check out Bad Crypto Podcast. That's our show on that. But Facebook is apparently working towards, they've been chatting with a few exchanges about getting a Facebook coin listed on their exchange. And then Telegram did a big ICO, which was an initial coin offering, kind of crowdfunding. And they got like $2 billion or something for their crowdfunding for Telegram to launch their own coin. So there's going to be some new big technology companies that are launching coins. Facebook, Telegram, Signal, and others
is launching their own stable coin that's going to be tied to WhatsApp. And not, I think it's going to be, it's a centralized coin, right? So that kind of goes against the tenets of cryptocurrency, which is to be decentralized. It's a stable coin, so it's going to be pegged straight to, a certain dollar amount. And so I don't know that it's going to hold much interest to people that are into traditional blockchain. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Telegrams has got a better chance of working than this Facecoin one.
Well, the thing is that this is one of those things that can begin the mass adoption of crypto, because Facebook's doing a cryptocurrency. Oh, I thought crypto was dead. Most people in the mainstream probably think Bitcoin is dead because the media tells them that it is. But they don't see all the development that's going on these various blockchain technologies and these various different companies that are solving real world problems using blockchain as the solution and building these platforms, these decentralized platforms that are not controlled. They're literally building companies, decentralized autonomous companies that there is no CEO. There is no headquarters, right? And it's in response to these big tech companies that are censoring stuff and eliminating people from deplatforming, depersonalizing people. Like, you're no longer a person online, Alex Jones, because you've been killed on every single platform.
Is Alex Jones here?
Right?
Alex, are you here?
Yeah, I was just listening in, guys, and I got to tell you, these transdimensional aliens out there are trying to hold me down. They're in charge of all these big tech companies. I don't know if you know this, Mr. Joel Comm, but they are. It's very upsetting, and I don't tell you, they're talking about it in Congress, and they're not doing anything, Mr. Joel Comm.
By the way, if you've been in a cave this last week, if you don't listen to the Joe Rogan podcast at all, this is the one to listen to. He got Alex Jones on for a 4.5 hour. You can't take your eyes or your ears off of this interview. Whatever you think of the guy, there's a lot that is going to be clarified in the interview, but it is a fascinating jaunt down the rabbit hole. And I promise you, if you go listen to it, it will get you thinking about many things.
Well, they were beefing. So I was surprised. I didn't even hear that it was happening. I knew that I saw, when Joe Rogan had Jack Dorsey on of Twitter, Alex Jones was not happy about the line of questioning. And then he basically called him out and they were having this beef. And then all of a sudden I see online, Alex Jones's Twitter is trending #1 on Twitter. And I'm like, what? Wow. Oh my God, Joe Rogan. There was like over 200,000 people at once streaming this interview. And right now there's been over 7.5 million people who've watched this thing. And I can tell you this, Alex Jones is entertaining. He's very intelligent. He's got like this ADD and he just gets so upset. And I think he goes down rabbit holes. And I don't know what percentage of what he has to say is actually true, but it makes you want to go down the rabbit holes with him because like, oh my God, like he's so passionate about how he's telling you about this shit.
And a lot of the stuff
whoa,
Joe's agreeing with him on. Joe Rogan is actually much better read than I knew he was. The dude is smart and he's aware of a lot of this stuff. I dropped the link to the YouTube video in the show notes. By the way, Bad Boys of Tech, / what is it? 007. Is that how we do it? Okay. It's episode number 7. Find it there and you'll find a link to all of the sites that we talk about here in the show notes. And
one thing I thought was fascinating about that is like Alex Jones would say this outrageous thing and then he would go, oh, well, Google this and pull this up. And they'd pull it up and they'd be like, oh, wow, here it is. Wow. Check this out. Like all of his crazy things that you would think like, oh my God, that's completely crazy what he's saying. And then you read like on real big publications and it validates everything that he said. I'm going, wow, like so many rabbit holes that I've not had a chance to go down.
Yeah, and he clarifies a lot of things that people have said about him too. And I'm not saying, go listen to Alex Jones. I'm saying just listen to people talking about things that you might find controversial. And now we're going to talk about something that's not controversial as we talk about apps. What's going on here with Apple? And you want it to be controversial?
Oh, I thought you said naps. I thought you said naps.
Do you need your milk cookies and your blankie?
Well, it's getting late in the evening. I could probably snooze a little bit, but I'm good. I'm feeling alive.
What's the story here about Apple and app developers? I know that I pay $99 a year in order to subscribe to Apple's developer service so that my iFart app can keep getting distributed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you guys are noticing this more and more, but you're starting to see this thing where it's like, you open up an app and it's like, hey, try free for 7 days. And then you're like, great. And then we're going to charge you, $7.99 a week after that. I'm like, well, let me use the app before because I don't want to have to go in, do a free trial. Let me test the app prior to even seeing if I want. Like, oh, do the free trial. And then it's $99 a year after the 7-day trial, which is going to automatically charge on your Apple account, right? So I've had so many apps where they're doing this so often now where you open it up and you're like, all right, I want to check out this cool camera app. And it's like, oh, try it free for 7 days and then $3.99 a week. So, I'm like, really? Like the apps used to be $3.99 a piece. And now you're going to try to get that every single week. So that's what they're doing. They have this new store kit. And developers are using these APIs with this new beta version of Xcode to set this up so developers can get subscriptions more effectively than they were able to in the past.
So this is interesting because Apple sees the value in recurring revenue, right? So they are encouraging app developers now to offer subscriptions, free subscriptions, which, could begin with a trial and then a renewal price, a pay as you go, like $1.99 for 3 months with a standard renewal rate of $9.99 per month, or where customers could pay upfront a one-time promotional price, say in this example, $9.99 for the first 6 months with a standard renewal of $39.99. Apple takes, from my app sales of the one-offs, they take 30% of every 99 cents that we sell. I think what they're doing here is after a year of selling subscription, it drops from 30% of subscription revenues from apps in the App Store to 15%. So I guess if you've got subscriptions to sell via your app, then it might be a good deal.
That might be nice of them to do that. Just like, hey, for the first year, we're going to do 30%. After that, we'll do 15%, because you've had iFart on there for 10 years. Over 10 years now.
That's just.
But it's not a subscription, so they're still going to take 30%, huh?
But they've sold a ton.
Well, maybe you need to have the fart. Maybe you need the new fart of the week, and people need to subscribe to the fart of the week.
Funny idea.
Here's a Shaquille O'Neal fart.
Celebrity farts would sell big time. Okay, what's up with this Spectre camera app?
Right. So this right here is a new iOS camera app that uses AI to basically create those really cool long exposure images. Right. Like I've always tried to create really cool long exposure images on my smartphone, but for one, I can't hold the camera that long, and the shutter speeds aren't that good on the smartphones. And so what this app does is it automatically detects, evening scenes, and then it chooses the desired light trails and help you easily apply motion effects to falling water. And so it's just kind of a cool app. I mean, there's a lot of iPhoneographers out there who like to take the cool pictures for the Instagrams and all the other sites, right? And so this is just a really cool thing. It does AI stabilization and allows for 9-second handheld exposures without the need for a tripod, and pretty handy. So you get those cool little streaks. Like if you take a picture and you get to see the cars driving by, and you get to see the taillights, kind of like they look like a laser beam.
They just
got
$1.99 cool. of mine, just based on your recommendation and the fact that it said this was editor recommended as well.
Now, is that going to be $1.99 plus a subscription, or no?
I don't think so. I think, hopefully I didn't get into a $1,000 a year deal. No, I think it's a one-time deal. Here's another one that I just found this week. Somebody showed it to me on Facebook, that there is a Facebook Messenger dark mode. It's a hidden feature in Messenger that basically turns your screen dark, so it's white text on it. And now we know how to do it. And the way you do it is you send the moon emoji to anybody on Facebook Messenger. And when you send the moon emoji, then a little pop-up comes up in your window, says you have enabled dark mode. Do you want to use it? And you could toggle it on and off. And it's just, what's the point? It's just another way to view Messenger. Some people think it helps with eye strain, for looking at darker background, but it's just.
Is it the special moon emoji or the full moon, the half
crescent moon emoji that you would send? So if you.
Oh, because I just sent you a full moon and I was about to call bullshit on you.
The one you want to send is the one I'm sending you back right now. And then it should rain down moons, and then you can manage dark mode. So now you should see it. It rained down moons, and up at the top it says now you found dark mode.
Found dark modes.
I wonder if there's other hidden modes there. Now I want to try sending you every emoji there is. Like if I send you a poop emoji, will it go to poo mode?
Very nice. I like that. I like it, the darker colors, because those bright lights, the bright white, that blue hue that emits, it's bright not good for the eyes over time.
Blue hues. Sounds like an album cover.
Yeah, that's why I use that. I use an app called Flux on my Mac, Flux, which basically, when the sun goes down, the colors on the screen slowly turn more of an orange hue instead of that bright white. And that way at nighttime, then whenever it gets like around 10, 11 o'clock, it's like really sort of orange. And then I'm like, oh, and it does something to your circadian rhythms. And it says, it's dark out there. The sun has set and these colors make you tired like the sunset does. And then it triggers you to become sleepy.
Travis, right? I just sent you a poo emoji.
Hey, that's not very nice of you to say.
Poo mode. So, got a couple gadgets to talk about, including our segment on virtual reality. But first, let's talk about the new Huawei foldable phone. We've talked about the Galaxy Fold before, and Huawei is coming out with this thing. It folds. That's what it is. It's a folding phone.
Yeah, it's a folding phone. It's like a phone tablet kind of a thing. And yeah, and you look at it. Now, here's the thing. So they launched this thing, this new Mate X, but they were talking about launching it, and they didn't actually let any journalist or anybody touch it yet, right? They just showed them it. Oh, look, it does this and it does that, and it folds, and it's interesting. And I think that, they were very careful to hold it and basically manage it all. So I don't know. We're going to have to see what it actually does. It looks really fancy. It's basically an 8-inch wraparound OLED display. The folded thickness is just 11 millimeters, which is not very much. It's like maybe 3-4 inches. And it's powered by 5G, has a 4500 mAh battery, which is nice. It uses the Huawei Kirin 980 processor, so it's going to be smoking fast. And you open it up, and it's almost like a square tablet. It has very minimal bezels on the sides, and it looks really cool. I thought it looked really cool. I wonder, after you use it a certain amount of time, doesn't that hinge area get a little warped?
You would think it does. It's pretty cool, though. There's a flash image on this site on The Verge where it shows it, and you can roll your mouse over and see what it looks like when it folds from full 8-inch tablet to 6.6-inch smartphone. This is the future.
You know what sucks about this, though, Mr. Joe Com, is you're not going to be able to have an effective phone case. You're not going to be able to use your pop sockets on them, right? I use this thing, this Lazy Hands on the back of mine, which is these 2 loops that connect to the back of my smartphone case with some Velcro, which is really handy. Now, if you drop this son of a gun, it's all sides are screens when it's folded up, right? So this thing's not going to be cheap, right? I know the Galaxy has a folding phone. They were talking to that being around a $2,000 phone. I'm sure this one's not going to be too much cheaper than that as another $2,000 phone, a $2,000 phone that you are unable to protect with any screen protectors.
Yeah, I'm not. I will not be early adopter, first one to take this on. That's how I feel about it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about VR and AR. I purchased one of the first Oculus Rift devices that was made available to the public. I paid I think it was $600, and then they came out with the hand controls for a couple hundred. So I was $800 in and a bunch of software. It connected to my high-end PC, which is what was required to make it work, and I had a blast with it. Now, I predicted when I got that one that December 2019, Christmas season, would be the year that we would have a device that would be free of the wires and the tethers and needing a high-end computer or some other high-end device, and that a killer piece of software would come out that would then sell this device. Oculus is coming out with their next generation Rift. It's called a Quest, and it is a wireless headset with hand controllers that does not require a computer. This is not to be confused with the Oculus Go, which was a lower end device that came out in 2018. This is the Quest. It's supposed to come out maybe as soon as April. I've sold my Rift as a result, knowing I can get some money for it now while I'm waiting for the Quest. But this story here is a little bothersome. Now, for those who don't know, Oculus is owned by Facebook. And this article here on The Verge says that they are going to approve Quest games if it thinks people will buy them. Up until now, you can go into the Oculus marketplace and you could see all kinds of stuff. Some, really primitive type of software, some free, almost like demos that people put out, and then some of the more advanced. But it sounds like their platform, they are going to go through a submission process, and people are going to have to hit certain guidelines for their stuff to get in. And to me, that feels like it's going to hit the same type of censorship to some degree that Facebook has already demonstrated on their platform.
You know what? That is an interesting thing. I saw not long ago the Facebook portal camera things. Well, it's like you've seen some of the commercials for that, where it's like you see you're talking to grandma or whatever, grandma's birthday, and haha on there, and basically, I was like, oh man, that is awesome. I was like, oh, but Facebook owns it, so I'm like, I don't know if I want to wrap more data into the Facebook world than I already have. But this Oculus looks really amazing. I really like this. It's going to be a $400 headset, it looks like, and they're calling it the foundation of the new generation of VR. Is this thing wireless?
That's the thing.
Is it like a pack you got to wear on your back or something, or on your belt?
That are set up in the room, and just like the Rift did, and just like the Vive does. But see, Facebook isn't alone, because the Quest is coming out, but on CNET we learned that HTC is coming out with a headset that's going to be completely wireless to compete with the Oculus Quest. What are they calling it? The HTC Vive Focus.
Focus.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get both of them.
It will be interesting. I wonder if they're going to be compatible, because I remember watching. I've never had a virtual reality headset aside from the VR box. You can put your cell phone.
They will not be compatible. They're two different platforms. Now that said.
So no. But I'm asking this is like, no, I remember whenever you had the Oculus and then you were on Facebook, and you were talking to other people who had that, and you'd have your little avatar and you're having funny stories. Like, can only Oculus access Facebook, or is the Vive able to, or the HoloLens, or any of those other able to?
The app that you were talking about was created by Facebook. It was called Facebook Spaces. So there are some other cross platforms, like AltSpace VR is one of them, that if the app is available on those devices, then you can talk to each other in them. But the one that was specifically made for Facebook, you're only going to find on the Oculus. It's like only getting Super Mario on the Nintendo. That's their property. You're not going to find Mario on a PlayStation or an Xbox. It's never going to happen.
That's weird, though, because Facebook is just sort of this, ever-reaching platform with 2 billion people, and you figure that, Facebook is it's almost like, YouTube saying, I'm only going to be on Android, right? That doesn't make sense. You want to be on all platforms because you want people to utilize it, mass adoption, but I can see how they're trying to gate it.
Well, the deal is, Travis, is that software sells hardware. That's how it works. Software sells hardware. People buy the new Nintendo device because you can play the new Mario game on it. So this is why my prediction was that Christmas 2019 would be the breakthrough. First of all, we've got the hardware that's coming that is within the price range. $400 for a unit that you can have in your home, and mom, dad, and junior can use it. Great. Now,
It's 1/5 the price
now,
of the new smartphones.
We need an experience. We need a high-end experience that everybody will be, just like when Pokemon came out on the iPhone. All of a sudden, everybody had to play it. Now, it's a free app. That's okay, granted. But I believe that an experience is coming that you will feel left out. You will have FOMO if you do not have one of these devices to have this experience. And I think it might be coming this holiday season. So watch this.
That is interesting. Now, we've talked about the Oculus. We've talked about the Vive. Now, also, Microsoft is in the game. They have a new HoloLens 2, which is their new headset.
This is more AR.
Yeah,
it's more AR, Travis, and it's also really more designed for business use. It's a $3,500 headset, and this is the second one. The previous one was even more expensive than that. And I think what they're looking for here are ways for business solutions that are going to be able to use augmented reality to do some pretty cool things.
Mm-hmm. You know what I want? It's like, I don't think I want a full VR experience. I don't necessarily care. I've used it before. It's really cool. I've gone to this place called Upload VR in San Francisco, and I've gone to their VR lab and hung out and tried a bunch of cool stuff. And it's really cool, right? And your brain thinks that it's pretty real. But what I want is I want really kick-ass augmented reality glasses that I can wear around. Like I in last year I got LASIK surgery now, so I don't wear glasses anymore. But I did that for one. I had a really weird experience in Austin, Texas, the year before, or earlier that other year, where it was like right after Trump got elected, and this Mexican lady ran up to me and said, "Screw you, Whitey." No, she said, "F you, Whitey," grabbed my glasses and threw them in the road. I hadn't even talked to the lady. I was just walking across the street. It was like the day after the Women's March, right after he had gotten inaugurated. And then this black dude got him, handed him back to me. She grabbed him from while he was handing him back to me and threw him out in the street again. And like, never have I ever wanted just to go Hulk smash on someone. But I was just like, this is her issues, not mine. I just happen to be the dude walking across the street wearing glasses. But I said, man, if shit hits the fan, I sure as hell don't want to be reliant upon glasses. And now I have LASIK, and it's amazing, right? One of my eyes is like 2015. I can see perfectly far away. The other one is set up for reading up close. So I got blended vision, and they did that on purpose because I'm over the age of 40, and my eyes are great. But I'm like, man, I really want AR. What I really want is, like, whenever I'm listening to music, like, I want to have this little music equalizer ball kind of sitting over here to the side, and the lyrics are popping out at it, and it's really cool visualization for lyrics. And I want to be able to have, I want to be able to put my screens in different places that are important to me, right? It's like, I think AR is going to be really cool when they get it right. And we're probably 4 or 5 years away from getting to the point where they're so small that we can do it.
Okay, but I'm gonna give you.
Well, I would say this. I would say this real quick though on that is like that Huawei device, that folding device. Most of the mechanics of that device are in this little slivered side of it, which is almost like you could put that exact technology in the earpiece of these glasses. We are not far away from really kick-ass AR. I'm going to sell you on why you're going to buy a VR goggle. Okay, you're ready? Okay, what band would you want to go see that's still playing today? I mean, obviously you'd say the Beatles, but they're not still playing today because they can't, because two of them are gone. But who would you like to go see front row center today? Well, you know what? There's a really cool Paul McCartney VR app that you can use with those little the VR things for the headpiece where you just put your phone in.
Yeah. But who do you want to go see live?
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Who do I want to go see live? You know what? All of my favorite musicians are no longer bands. They don't. I'm fans of the music from the '60s and '70s. And I liked Oasis.
Okay, so
I love Nirvana.
Noel Gallagher.
I love Pearl Jam.
Right?
I've seen Pearl Jam.
Noel Gallagher. Okay, so I mean, since you're like so old and you don't like any get off my lawn, you kids, with your new music, you don't like anything. There's a concert you want to go to, and it's sold out. And you can get a ticket for $1,000 of the front row, or for $19.95, you could pop on your Oculus or your Vive with your stereo headphones on it, and you could be sitting front row center at that show that's sold out, enjoying that live concert as it's happening. You look to the left, and there's the people that are there. You look to the right. And with your hand controls, you could change where you're sitting in the place. You want, hey, let's go jump to the back and see what it looks like from back there. You can pop around and go to that's for me. Like, I can.
I think that would be really cool for sports. I mean, I would love to to sit there on the 50-yard line.
I should have gone with
that.
I should have gone with that instead of concerts. I should have said you could be,
I mean, I love music. I play music. I like music. All my favorite bands I've seen that they're alive. I took my kids to see the Rolling Stones. I thought that was really awesome. I've seen Eric Clapton.
Let's just go with the Chiefs then. All right. Let's just
Oasis.
go with the Chiefs. You can go to any game, wherever they are. You could sit on the 50-yard line. You could pick your end zone. You can go sit up at the top. Wherever you want, and you are at the game. All they need to do is have these cameras set up.
I would say this: the only thing missing, there's a key thing missing from that, and that's haptic. You got to feel it. You know, like if you're sitting at the front row of the concert and you just have headphones on, but you're not feeling the music, there's a big difference there. And I think that, you know, that's why, and we've talked about this on the first episode. I have this bioharmonics bed that I lay on and you can feel the music. That's one thing missing from VR is that haptic experience. You don't feel it. You see it, you hear it, you know, you make it reach out. It looks like you can reach out and touch it.
I've got on my PC here, I have a killer bass cabinet hooked up to my system. So when I'm playing games and it, boom, bam, I feel it. I'm getting that bass. So you can do that with VR as well. And you will, Mr. Travis, right?
Well, I'll have to test it out. You get it, and I'll try it out. You buy it first, and then I'll try it out when I come to Denver.
We got some reviews here. Two of them have come in from our friends in the UK. One from I Hate Facebook Messenger, who wrote, 5 stars, not that bad. I've whiled away many hours of UK car journeys, mowing my lawns, ironing clothes, listening to the jovial wit and dulcet tones of Mr. Joel Comm and TW since August 2017, when the crypto rabbit hole first swallowed me up. This new addition to their PC portfolio is just as enjoyable if you're into the tech world. And then he goes on to say, bad crypto is still the best podcast out there. Stay bad.
Yes, and this is from Sixth Brit. Is that what it is?
6 foot Brit.
6 foot Brit. 6 foot Brit. Witty, amusing, extremely useful, and fun. Grand combination of information and entertainment. This clever duo practice their magic in the Bad Crypto podcast, and they are creating it all over again in this broader techno space. Highly recommended.
We appreciate your reviews. And if you're listening to the show and you enjoy it, why don't you go ahead, take a moment and leave your review. The more stars, the better. If you could leave us 6 stars, well, that's not possible, but if you could, that would be super awesome. Badboysoftech.com is where you can find all our shows, and make sure you subscribe, follow, and tell others about us, because that's how we grow in the podcast realm. What are you typing there, Mr. Travis, right? I hear you.
That's true. I'm typing in, I am in iTunes, typing in Bad Boys of Tech, and that's what you want to do, and then go over there and leave a review.
Love it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you on the next episode. Until then, stay bad.